Schools Board of Education to order. We're gonna go ahead and get started with a roll call. Vice President Legarreta will not be here today. Member Garay? Member Marcus?
Present.
Secretary Montes?
Here.
And myself, President Gonzalez, I'm here. Item number one, oh, I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, this is a symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Item number one on our agenda tonight is the approval of the consent agenda. Before we have Secretary Montes read the items, does anyone have any questions about anything on the consent agenda?
I don't have any issues. Anybody else?
Seeing none, Secretary Montes, could you read the items on the consent agenda?
Let me just do the D, okay?
Yeah.
Approval of consent agenda. Good evening, everyone. Approval of budget adjustments, requests, transfers and cash requests. Maintenance transfer bars 28190, 27502, 11,000, 23,000, 24,101, 25,278, 27,114, and increase bars 26107, 24189, and 23,000.
Thank you, Secretary Montes. The other three items in the agenda were the approval for the agenda, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting for 2/15/25, and the approval of February 2025 bills. So see no discussion. All those in favor of approval of the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Agenda item number two, superintendent report.
Yes, thank you. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you. I got to give a public thank you to Miss Amber Perry because last month, as you guys know, I was not able to attend. And so I kind of put Miss Perry on the spot and said, hey, can you fill in for me? And she didn't even hesitate. She just said yes. And so I understand she did a tremendous job of handling the meeting last month. And so I just want to say thank you to her publicly. Thank you.
She was a natural.
She was good. Very cool. And so thank you again, Amber. That meant a lot to me. Thank you. We have several items on the for the report. The first one is a presentation by our Educators Rising, who this group has shown tremendous success in really a short amount of time. And they continue to represent Hatch Valley Public Schools in ways that have just, it's just been good. It's all of it has been good. But to qualify for national competition, that just says, you know, the caliber of the work that these kids put into it, and their sponsor, Ms. Gomez, spends to make sure that they are successful. And so at this time, I want to turn it over to them. I'm not sure who is leading the presentation, but come on up.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us here. I'm Ms. Gomez. I'm the sponsor for Educators Rising, and Alicia Trujillo is my co-sponsor. First of all, I would like to thank the parents who are here supporting their students. If you can please stand up. Los papás de los estudiantes, por favor. I just want to recognize them because without them, their students would not reach nationals or state level. And of course, just having our whole organization, because they depend, the students depend a lot from them too. They really need their support. And I also would like all my Educators Rising members to stand up, please. They're all here. And I have a total of 17 students who are national qualifiers. I'm gonna lead this meeting my office, which is Angela, Gladys, Marfil, and Alexa. They will be presenting to you a short presentation. We are here to ask for permission to travel out of state because we just finished with our state competition before spring break. And we were fortunate enough because our students, they all placed at state and they are all national qualifiers. Wanna pass that? We first want to start with a little video where our students participated with the PSA teacher recruitment. And we want to thank our staffs and our students because they were part of it as well.
So I just need to, before you get started, just apologize because I always leave you out, Mr. Hill.
That's
So,
okay. And
uh,
she does all the work. I'm just her like little assistant, I feel. So she does a great job. I'm just here to support her.
She
you
helps a
both
lot.
do, you both do a really, really good job. Thank you.
We have some.
Sound?
It's not on. No.
Okay, Chris, thanks. We're just keep running. And then we can just go back after we can hear.
Do I play?
Play it. Sure. The sound wasn't going on.
Yeah, it's not going on.
Maybe my mic isn't playing.
You play it? No, it's a video that I'm showing.
This one here, public service announcement, teacher recruitment. It's a YouTube link.
Join the teaching profession and make
Okay.
Good. So I try. So I started again? Oh, you have it? Okay, great.
You can just stop sharing.
But
join the teaching profession and make a lasting impact on young minds.
Hashtag
Join us to teach con el corazón hermoso.
I had many favorite teachers over the years, but my all-time favorite teacher would have to be my culinary teacher. She always believed in me and she helped me figure out what I wanted to pursue after high school. She helped me with the schoolwork I needed and she was just always there.
My favorite teacher is Polly Niles because she has the FFA program and I participate in that, and I think FFA is going to get me far. And
So the moment I knew I wanted to be a teacher was my senior year. I was in a program similar to Educators Rising. It was called Youth Tutoring Youth. And I was placed in a first grade classroom at Hatch Elementary. And that's when I knew that's what I wanted to do.
By choosing to teach, you become a guide, a mentor, and a source of inspiration for generations to come.
We need more CTE teachers because there's a need in the industry. You know, a lot of kids need jobs out of high school, and this is one way they can do it.
Education is crucial because it provides the knowledge and skills needed to navigate life and contribute to society.
Teach history.
Teach media.
Teach Spanish.
Teach economics.
Teach con el corazón.
nice. So that's a video that one of our groups competed in state and they actually won fourth place and at state level. So they will be able to present this video at nationals. And now I will have my office members present a slideshow presentation that I have. So I just want to introduce myself. My name is Angela Ceriteño and I'm the president.
My name is Alexa Puentes and I am the secretary.
My name is Gladys Alvarado and I am the treasurer.
And I am Marfil Alcalá Cisneros, and I am the vice president.
And we would like to let you know like our results and the whole rundown for our 2025 state competition. And right there, you can see all of our faces with our competition. What are they called? Certificates. Okay, so what do I think? We'll let Alexa take it.
Educators Rising is a career and technical student organization that supports its students that are interested in educational careers. Hatch was the first bilingual chapter in the nation.
The Educators Rising chapter at Hatch Valley High School is the only bilingual chapter officially recognized at a national level. This program was integrated into Hatch Valley High School in 2019. Our chapter has been able to participate in the national conference since the year the program was first introduced to our school. These are some of the national conferences that Hatch Valley High School has attended. In 2019, the first one was in Dallas, Texas, and in 2020, because of the pandemic, there was no competition held. And in 2021, there was a virtual competition. 2022, they went out to Washington, D.C. And 2 years ago, they went to Orlando, Florida, where 4 students placed top 10 at nationals. In 2024, last year, we went to Washington, D.C., and 8 students placed top 5 at nationals. And this year, we are hoping to go to Orlando, Florida again. This year, the state competition was held in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Our members were able to attend the state conference that went on from March 3rd to March 5th. We competed in these following categories: lesson planning and delivery, English and Spanish, child literature, bilingual in pre-K, and insider schools in Spanish. And then we had job interview as well, and interactive bulletin board for the levels of middle school and high school, as well as elementary, and PSA teacher recruitment video.
We are also excited to announce the members that have placed in 1 or more events and that ended up being national qualifiers. Hatch Valley High School ended up receiving the most awards. And as I call your guys' names, if you can please stand up. In first place, Insider Schools Spanish, Diana Cordero, Juan Serrano, Giselle Moreno, y Naila Gomez. In first place for interactive bulletin board for middle school and high school level, Addison Arriaga. In first place for lesson plan and delivery in Spanish, Angela Cerriteño. In second place for lesson plan and delivery humanities, Marisol Villegas. And in second place, children literature pre-K Spanish, Alan Martinez and Alexa Puentes. For national qualifiers, we have teacher recruitment PCA, Fatima Santoyo, Gregorio Hernandez, and Shailene Gomez. Another national qualifiers we have for an active bulletin board elementary level, Tatum Trujillo and Ashley Zamora. And Gladys Alvarado and Cynthia Diaz. And then for national qualifiers, one active bulletin board, middle school, high school level, Marfil Cisneros. So the travel dates to nationals would be June 24th to June 30th. It's going to be hosted in Orlando, Florida at the Rosen Creek Hotel, but we will be needing to stay at the Overflow Hotel since they were already completely booked at the conference hotel. And I am also excited to announce that I am this year's president for 2025 Educators Rising New Mexico State. I would be required to attend all the special sessions, and as well as our advisor, Maria Gomez, that is also part of the state advisory. Sorry, this is Committee for Ed Rising and New Mexico will also be required to send the special sessions as well. So other registrations do include access to breakout workshops designed to help students develop teaching skills, opportunities to compete in more than 21 competitive events designed for students to showcase their teaching and leadership skills, entry into all keynote presentations from national education leaders, and admission to college and innovation exhibit fairs.
So now the dreaded moment that everybody has waiting for, this will be our budget. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So show them. Let me know. So the first cost would be registration, and we have to register by April 17th. 2 teacher leaders would be 315 if staying in a hotel, so it would be around 630. Also on that paper that we were giving out, there might be one possible volunteer chaperone who would be Angel Alvarado, and that would add another 365. So in total, that would be 995. The overflow hotel is in Universal Cabana Bay Beach Resort in Orlando, Florida. Our check-in would be June 24th, and we would be checking out the 30th. Our group rate is $249 plus occupancy tax, which is 12.5, and sales tax, which is 6.5, which would be about $300. We will be having 5 rooms, 4 students per room, and 2 rooms just for the teacher leaders and possibly the chaperone. So in total, it'll be $12,600 for 7 rooms for 6 nights. Our meals would be around $20 per meal, so it'll be 3 meals per day, sorry. So for 16 students, 2 teacher leaders, and a possible chaperone, it would be around $8,400. And then on the side, you can also see the air flight information, including the tickets, I'm sorry. And we were wondering if we could possibly request having bus transportation. It is a really big group, and if we were to get there around 5, we'd have to be there at least 2 hours early, so probably 2 hours in El Paso. And most of our parents do work in the summer. Some of our parents work in the sheds or doing other stuff, so sometimes it's pretty hard to find someone that can take us all like as a carpool. So I think the bus would be really nice, but if anything, like we understand if that's not possible. But it was just nice to throw it in there. So approximately the total conference would cost $32,820.
I wanted to add a quick note for this. Last year, we were blessed to take 17 students to nationals. However, we do ask for another chaperone just because it is only Ms. Trujillo and I, so it is a big group. And it's not like Washington, D.C. where we can walk everywhere, because Orlando, most likely we do have to find transportation to our conferences, where our conference will be held in the other hotel. It's close enough, but it's not walking distance like it was in Washington, D.C. So if it's possible to have a chaperone with us, that would be wonderful, just because we do have 16 students going with us.
Thank you for your time. We are very excited to be representing our bilingual Ed Rising chapter from Hatch Valley High School at a national level. We are the next generations of successful educators, proud and determined to prosper. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Are they not feeding you at the conference? No food?
They have, so if you can see right there, we did attach an agenda. That's what they have provided us yet, but they have us buy tickets separately for the conference. Yes, it's such a big group. It is growing. Last year we had over 5,000 attendance, and now they expect more. That's why the hotel where the conference is being held was overflow. By the time we finished state competitions, there was no rooms available no more. So they just barely added this other hotel. Our state director, it is working with to find another hotel that will give us a discount rate, but she said to go with the one that's overfull for now.
Okay.
So last year was a total of 8 students.
Who placed top 5,
at nationals,
Yeah,
but
there's-
we took 17 students
Just
to nationals.
17.
And it was great. Everything went out great, but it was quite a little bit challenging just with two teachers leaders, just because if something happens, I did had to there was occasions where I had to travel with separate students just so they can make it to their competitions. And we don't know the schedule of the competitions till like May. So sometimes it doesn't work with our schedule too much. So the other teacher has to stay with the other kids, make sure they get their breakfast, and me have to get them breakfast early, get them to the competitions. And with Marfil being the president, get her to her sessions and make sure she's there. And then advisory committee as well.
Different location, different needs.
Yes, yes. So it will be helpful to have 3 eyes. Mhm. We also did bring some bulletin boards for the students competed. This was the one that won first, and we were really proud of Addison because she's only a middle schooler, and there were over 30 students competing at bulletin board. And for middle school levels, the judges were really impressed, and she got first place in the interactive Nice. bulletin board. Now, it also says here fundraising. Will you be doing some fundraising?
Yes, we'll be doing some fundraising. Our students do we are in Orlando, Florida, so of course they want to go and explore the city. They do ask for permission to be able to go to Disney World and to Universal Studios. We are staying in the Universal Studios Resort, so we're trying to see how many, if there are any discounts for us. They have not been informed to us yet, just because we do have a lot of students attending this year. And at National, they just told us to wait and see what they can offer for us. So they do have to fundraise for those expenses as well as their food while they're in the parks. I just had a parent meeting. I presented the same agenda as I presented to you. And I told them about the possibilities if the school cannot cover all the budget, that we will definitely have to fundraise. We are fundraising right now. We do sell for Tikis in our school during lunch or before school or after school. And our students have been doing that throughout the whole school year. That helped us a lot. We also do fundraise for the Cinco de Mayo event, any type of events that the school has and we can sell. We participate in that, but any type of community service, we are not able to fundraise just because we do offer free service of face painting because it is for free for the community. Also for Inside Our School, it was really special, this video, because we, Miss Kim O'Brien will be presenting this video, I believe, in April. I don't know where she's attending, but we do highlighted the Freight Farm. So our judges really were amazed about the amazing work and how our school is really unique. And it's a 5-minute video long, so that's why we didn't present it. But Miss Kim said she will put it on the school website just so you guys will have the opportunity to see it. The kids are doing a wonderful job. We did really want to highlight what our school really has to offer. And it's really unique that we have a free farm here in our school district.
Mike? How does this look? Of course, you know.
You're asking the wrong person, you know,
Yeah.
that's the person with money over here, you
Of
know?
course, you know, Sheila, we backed this up 110%.
So, you know, it's one of the things that we'll have to look at, and we'll have to look and see what we cover and what we've done in the past and the precedents that we've set, you know, with that. And also just look at just everything in a little more in detail. And so we definitely will support financially the group as they go to compete. I just can't give you a dollar amount, but I will definitely work with Ms. Gomez and Mr. Hugh.
And this is like a yearly competition, or like, so you guys don't start fundraising earlier, like throughout the year, or is it just now that you're?
So
kind of-
we do a lot of community events. And so
Yeah,
our
but
weekends,
fundraising.
we do, right, but a lot of our time is also for the community.
Yes.
So a lot of the things we do are those types of things, and Ms. Gomez and I volunteered to do this. So this is our own time. So we try as much as we can throughout the year to do community events, but our time is also very tight.
Yeah.
You know, because this is a volunteer job for us.
We do fundraise shirts. We do have, like I said, the Cinco de Mayo is our big event where we can sell more opportunities, more stuff. And then throughout the year, we do sell our free tickets. That's our big money maker, to be honest. It just does get challenging whenever we fundraise, as we are a small community and it's always the same people we go ask.
And our students are also, some of them are part of sports. They do have other organizations and they have to sell for those ones too. But we do try to sell, like I said, for Chickies it's our money maker. I know sometimes we go over the limit for our meals because it is another state and it's higher. And we try to have enough money in our account to make sure we pay those over, whatever we go over. We've been good, right?
I have numbers. Last year, the wind is killing me. The students raised and spent out of the activity account over $12,000 that they contributed to the trip. The district operational spent over 20,000 to Washington DC. So it was more than the previous year, but we sent more students last year. So we're looking at the same amount of students as last year, but not doing the separate trip. So for comparison, they did more than a third was from their activity money, from where they raised money. And they did receive funds from Ben Trejo and Karen Memorial Foundation. So I'm not sure, we did receive $5,500. Does that go towards this?
It
Or
can,
five,
but
yes.
it's, we're gonna try to do more supplies.
Okay.
Yeah. 'Cause it's,
So,
we also have to
There's
buy-
more to come on the agenda.
So we did receive $5,000 request from the New Mexico State Ed Rising. However, we did use it towards our supplies for competitions. I did have to buy new equipment like microphones. We our students do book, they do lesson plans. Whenever they do lesson plans, I do try to provide their teachers, mentors with the supplies they need. One of them had to do a cooking activity and we helped them get all the ingredients for the cooking activity. Someone else did something in science, the solar, yeah. And we got their materials as well. And then getting them t-shirts, we have new members. This is the first year where I have a lot of seniors. I have about seven seniors that are leaving me, and these seniors are been with me for like 4 years now, all their high school years. So we are planning to use that money as well to help them a banquet because they have been traveling with us at nationals and placing at state and nationals. And I thought we do recognize our students, but I do reward them with stoles for their hard work. So our money goes towards that too as well, stoles and cords, just because I feel like they need to be recognized. More questions?
I hope
Good
they
luck.
enjoy their success. They deserve it. They do.
Thank
These
you.
kids deserve it. They work hard. We're gonna
And
start
not only that, our students have been fortunate enough. Currently, right now, I have three students at NMSU who have received the Golden Apple Scholarship. And right now, I think I have 5 students who are final candidates for the Golden Apple. The Golden Apple, it's a huge scholarship for anyone who's going to the education field. And Marina Aguilar has been a great support to our organizations and always put Hatch Valley High School students as a priority.
Nice. Good job.
So yeah, I have future educators right now.
Yes.
Okay, we'll definitely sit down with them and see what we can do.
Okay.
Thank you. But do we have your permission to travel out of state?
That'll be later in the
Yeah.
action items,
Mhm.
and so that'll come later, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Any more questions?
I don't see you having any problem getting our permission to go.
No.
Thank you.
Yes.
Addison did one for, because they're welcome in their school. And then they had to do a presentation and explain how they would use it in a lesson. So how would you use it? And actually, the girls presented it at Hatch Elementary to Mrs. Reina's 2nd grade class, and the kids loved it.
Yeah.
They had the best time.
Well, because it's visual.
Yeah. So
And
you
it's
got-
interactive, it presented them, yeah.
Well, and definitely have had some New Mexico wild weather,
Yeah.
so. Very cool. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on down, we do have the Heart of a Bear Award. And today we're going to be recognizing all of our Ed Rising kids that exemplify what it means to have the heart of a bear. And so if we could get all of our Ed Rising kids to come on up and be recognized. that would be great.
There's that many. I don't think there's that many. There's only like 17 of them.
Here, we'll take a picture.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
All right, guys, let's line up over here. Let's even out and let's take a picture. Might need two rows, I don't know. Unless you curve around.
Okay, try to squeeze in. I'm not gonna get Paul in the front. Paul in the front. Right, squeeze in more, squeeze through. There you go, so squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Who's signing over here?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you threw Ms. Gomez to the back and she needs to be up in the front. Tippy toe. There you go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, for you.
Isaac, I think we can pull up this PowerPoint. Okay, moving right along, we've got the next part of the superintendent report is the SPED Parent Resource Night. And with that, we have Ms. Taryn Vogel, who is going to speak to that.
Good evening, everybody. So the special ed department, our ancillary staff have decided to put on a parent resource night for our parents. We have a lot of parents who don't have access to DD waiver. We got Children Medical Services DVR, so we reached out to all of them and we're gonna set up kind of like a fair in here. They're all gonna have tables and we've opened it up to parents to come in and visit with whatever agencies they need to. So we've got about 10, 12 that have already said they'll be here. Our deadline for them to submit a request to have a table is Friday so that we can get all organized. It is next Friday, the 28th from 4 to 6:30 in this room. And we're looking forward to just being able to give access to some of those resources out in Cruces and bringing them in. So if you guys have a chance to stop by, please feel free to join us as well.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you, Ms.
Have
Vogel.
we offered this before? I can't recall.
Not since I've been here, but this is only my second year. But that was something that SPED social workers, school psychologists, the IEP facilitator, and sitting through IEPs came back and said, parents want more information. What can we do? And so it kind of developed from there. So, but all of us are relatively new, so I don't know if we've done this before.
We've done several things similar, but not with the SPED focus.
Oh, okay.
So this is it'll be different in that regard.
And we are inviting all parents in, which is nice. It doesn't have to just be special ed parents, because there might be students out there that aren't recognized yet under special ed, or parents that have questions or even want access to some of these resources, because Children's Medical Services is going to come in. There's some other that aren't just special ed aligned. So we're inviting some of those. I think WIC is coming. So it's not just for special ed. Nice.
So you'll be bridging the gap of a lot of unknowns for some of our
That's our
committee
hope.
members. Good. Excellent.
All right, any questions? No. All righty, thank you, Ms. Vogel.
Thank you.
I'm gonna skip down, I'm gonna skip the assessment data. I'm gonna go straight to the job description, and you have a copy of the job description. In accordance with our policy, we're presenting a job description for a new position that we will be adding. And one of the things, and let me just go over the justification for this. Since PED switched over from STARS to Nova, it's last year, and last year was the first year, and we really struggled with that. The transition and the communication between Power School and Nova, just there was a lot of kinks that needed to be worked out. And so we really thought this year would be a lot better. But one of the things that we're finding is that we're being in reactive mode all the time. And the reason we're being in reactive mode is because the data that is going in isn't always being collected correctly, or it's not being put into Power School correctly, or we think we have it right, and then PED will say, no, you got it wrong. And so there's a lot of double work that is taken away, especially from our school secretaries. And so what we'd like to do is we'd like to centralize that to one person, as opposed to having several different people across the district inputting data. And we think that this would add to our efficiency and provide something that will free up just different people that are doing it right now. I mentioned school secretaries, but I know Elsa does a lot of work with Nova. And so she's always trying to find discrepancies, and errors that PED throws back at us. Sandra Williams also does a lot with that. And so it's just, they'll take all that off of their plate so that they can do a better job in the other duties that they have. And as you guys know, in the Hatch Valley Public Schools, we all have many different hats that we wear. And so this is one of those things that would take off one of those hats from certain people, but centralize it and add to our efficiency. So any questions on this?
I'm thinking about specifically kinder students, that a lot of the data has to go, so this person would enter all the incoming kinder data, correct?
You know what, we weren't thinking in terms of kinder. We were thinking in terms of just like other data. So we've got one of the big things that we have that really takes a lot of our time is ELLs, putting in the information on the Ls. And WIDA, also our migrant students. And so a lot of that kind of, and so I don't want to say yes or no, but it's something that we could definitely look at.
I'm looking at that first bullet, say student enrollment. So I'm thinking of student enrollment, because that's the big one that when one secretary has 80 students to enroll for the first time, data, that is a lot.
Yeah.
So that's when I saw that first bullet, I thought that's excellent.
Yeah. No, and you know what, like I said, we haven't pinpointed all this. It's a brand new position, but we know that we've got to do a better job in our reporting. And so, like I said, that's why we're looking at this. Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. I want to give a quick update on the facilities because we've got a lot going on as usual. But I want to start with the vet clinic. The vet clinic is scheduled to be completed. The first phase of that to be completed by the end of the month. And so what's that, like the 31st? Yes, okay. The 31st. And so we're looking at a grand opening in April, and we'll get you that information. 24th. So that'll be after next month's meeting, but we'd like to also see if you guys would be interested to just before next month's board meeting to meet over there. And so that you guys can see it, firsthand and what it looks like. And so on the 24th, we'll have the grand opening for that. Okay. Just right behind us over here, we have the football field house, and that's still on track to be completed by the end of May. And so they're moving quickly. They have walls up. If you have a chance, just go pop your head in there. They don't have like sheetrock on the walls, but they have the metal studs. And so you can envision what it's going to look like. And so they're moving right along with that. It's going to be a really, really nice facility. We're going from a facility that needed a lot of work to something that's going to be very, very nice for our kids. And so, so we're really excited about that. We have the teacherages that we're still waiting for the money. You know, we've been approved, but we're still waiting for that check, you know. But we're moving right along with that and getting quotes and seeing what that might look like. How many we'll be able to purchase. And I know Sheila and Chris went down and looked at some model homes. And so we're really excited about being able to offer that for as a recruitment and retention tool for teachers. Okay. We still haven't worked out all the logistics of that, what that's going to look like, but we'll have that you know, as we move along. And then Sheila, there's something else I'm missing. Is there? No? Oh, the greenhouse. That's the other one. Okay, so the greenhouse is, we purchased the greenhouse for the middle school. We do have everything ready to go. We're just waiting for it to come in and so that we can move forward. So it'll have a full-blown greenhouse over at the middle school. Okay, and the Mueller building, going back to the vet clinic. So the vet clinic, I mentioned that the first phase is scheduled to be completed by the end of the month. The second phase will start after July 1st, but we have purchased the barn or the metal building that will be erected over there. Okay, and that'll be the second phase of that complex. Okay, and so we're moving right along. We were able to purchase that through Kellogg funding, and so we're really thankful for them. They're the reason why we've been able to do a lot of these big projects in those areas. And so we're just extremely thankful to them. And I believe that's it, right? Okay.
The dressing
I have
rooms, the
I'm sorry?
dressing rooms for the,
Oh, the dressing
portable?
rooms. Yes, the dressing rooms for the baseball and
Yes.
softball complex. We're in the process. We're almost there. I know it's set and everything like that. I think we're waiting for the ramp.
yeah, the ramps weren't there yet.
The ramps need to be put in there and lockers too, right? The flooring.
And then you guys had some new bleachers going up there.
The new bleachers have been purchased. They came in about 2 weeks ago. Of course, you know, you can't order them already assembled, right? And so, I'm sorry?
Middle school?
No, these are for the softball field.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the things that we had was we had those bleachers, but they didn't have any back to them, right? And so, you know, I'm always afraid that somebody's sitting on that top and then falling over. So these are going to have the nice backing like baseball has. Okay, so again, we're always looking at equity and you know, so those are some of the improvements that we're making over there. I know I talked to Fernie this morning, and we're actually looking at batting cages because softball doesn't have a batting cage, and the batting cage that baseball has is not adequate. It's not even up to code or whatever. I know somebody just probably did that out of the goodness of their heart, right? To have something, but it's not appropriate. So one of the things that we were talking about is having a dual batting cage that would be put between the two fields so that one side is softball and one side is baseball. So we're looking into things like that. We're trying to make those improvements so that our kids have, you know, the equipment that they need. So.
My question was, now that we have our irrigation season coming up, are all our pumps in the district up and running?
Yes, as far as I know, they were at the end of the year last year.
Even the middle school over there?
Yeah, we still had we had some piping issues at the middle school because when we repaired the lighting, something was cut, and I don't know if we've been able to get that fully done, but they should be ready to go. Okay. Alrighty, and irrigation, I think I just heard that there's going to be a pullback on some of the irrigation, so I don't know how much water we're gonna get. But my understanding is even our local farmers are only getting like 4 inches or something a year. So that's yeah, we're gonna need to depend on our pumps. Yeah. Okay, let's see where we at. Budget update. Just want to talk a little bit about budget update and what we're hearing from the legislature. Right now, what we're hearing is an overall 8% increase to education in House Bill 2. And inclusive of a 4% increase for all staff. And that's what I'm hearing is for all staff, guaranteed 4% for all staff. There is a $5,000 increase to the starting salaries. So moving from 50, 60, 70 to 55, 65, 75. So that'll be in that also. So we'll have to readjust our salary schedules to that.
Are they talking about the 4% raise above the 55, 65, 75, or are they saying still that it's going to be, if they hit 55, then that's gonna be their 4%?
You know what, I don't know. So we have to, what we do know is that the 4%, this is what I was told today, that the 4% is guaranteed. So I don't know if that's inclusive of the 5% or not, or the 5,000 or not. Those are things that, the details that we'll need to work out. There is an index increase for grades 6 through 12. There's always been an index for 7 through 12. But this year they've included 6th grade. And then there's an increase. I think the index was 1.25, and I think the increase is 1.3. And so it doesn't sound like a lot, but it really makes a difference. And so, and then the last thing that we're hearing is there's going to be a restructure of the family income index and the at-risk factor. And I don't know all the details of that, but it does include the EL factor. Somewhere the EL factor is going to be put into that whole formula, which is actually going to benefit us really nice. And so, you know, one of the things I think I mentioned is that I was working on a bill with Representative Dow on increasing the bilingual factor, and that didn't even make it to committee. However, and the reason why is because of this ELL factor. And so, you know, it's a win. It's not exactly what we wanted, but it's a win and it'll benefit the district. And I think overall, what I'm hearing is the amount of money and the increases that are happening are probably the best that it's been in many years. And so we'll know more, you know, as we go to spring budget conference, but also, you know, this is the 60-day session and it ends on Saturday. And of course, the governor has, I think, 30 days to sign off on all bills. And so hopefully we'll have more information by next month. So that's what we're hearing right now. The NMSBA regional meeting, I believe you got the draft agenda and the invitations that go out to everybody. And I just wanted to I've started working on some things, and I need you to look over, Ray, especially you, to see if, you know, this is okay. We're going to be meeting with Mike Lozano. From the food service to go over a menu. And I guess what I need to know from you is, like, I mean, this is your meeting. So do you have any requests?
Chili,
Okay.
hot chili.
No, it's not in here.
All righty. Anything else? Entertainment. So what I was thinking is entertainment. I know Mr. Casillas has offered his after-school folklorico and cheer group. And I'm thinking that maybe we could do that during dinner, that we can have them performing while everybody's having dinner. But then we also have what we're calling the Heart of a Bear or Corazón de Oso presentation. And it's going to be a video presentation that we'll show. We actually got one of our students that is working on that production. And so we're just going to kind of capture some highlights from the district and show that before we go into dinner.
Nice.
If that works. Like I said, this is your meeting. You know, if there's anything else that you would like to see or whatever, please let myself know or Elsa know. And so that we can get this in. We got to get this to Joe Guillen here pretty soon. So we got to move pretty quickly. And
What day is the meeting again?
the meeting is April 15th, tax day.
15th. Okay.
And it'll be at the high school commons. That's the only place we can get, like, you know, everybody, because it's all the school boards from all the different regions. Well, from our region. Okay. Any questions on that? All righty, then let's get to the nitty gritty with the data. Okay, so this is the information that we're going to be presenting to you, or at least the tools that we use to provide data for you all. This is the third quarter, and so we call it the Q3 quarter. I'm gonna kind of go over some stuff, some things that are gonna be consistent with what you've seen in Q1 and Q2. And then there's gonna be some differences that mostly deal with Rio Grande and Hatch Valley Middle School. Okay, but let's go ahead and get started. This is Kinder, and I apologize. I'll get this email to you guys so you'll have an electronic version of this. But here's the Kinder. What we're looking at is Q3. So it's the gray pieces. And so we'll start with Garfield. And you can see that there's been a lot of movement in Garfield, especially in L3, level 3. For quarter 3 and reading in English. And then you can see in Spanish on the other side, you can see the big jump in level 5 to 44%. So they're moving, and it looks like they kind of moved everybody over. I mean, it continues to move over. Of course, with the English, just like we mentioned previously, Garfield doesn't have a lot of kids in there, and that'll be reflective on some of the other slides. Okay, but that's Kinder. And what we'll do is I'll go over all the information just real quick and then have the principals stand for questions. Okay. All right, here's the math for Kinder. And you can see our math at level 1, we're still at 0%. They don't have any kids at the very low level. But they continue to move in L3. And we kind of dropped out of L4. And the reason why there's like the numbers don't add up is like some kids were not able to assess. And so that kind of throws some things off. But you can see even at level 3, having 65% of the kids, that's really good.
What happens to those students that don't assess?
I don't know. Do you want to speak to that, Mr. Mesa?
So the week that we took these assessments was the week of March 3rd. We had a lot of kids out with flu. So some of them did come back and they were able to assess. And then the other ones, they just, because we use happy numbers. And so happy numbers only does 3 benchmark tests, which is the BOY and the YPOY. So they did us a favor by
opening up an extra window to do the Q3. So they're the ones that decided the date, which was March 3rd, and it was only open for 1 day. Then they opened it on March 1st. So we were able to get a few of those absent kids. On average, per my grade levels, there was anywhere from maybe 3 to 4 students per grade level that weren't able to net in for the actual data. But that's happy numbers. So level 1 is far below. Level 2 is below, level 3 is meeting, and level 4 is exceeding. Yes, thank you. So overall, they did pretty well. I mean, we're still pretty much clear on the level 1. Everybody's just progressively moving over. So, and also not to make an excuse, but we also had just come out of access testing because the district was doing access testing in the month of February as well. So they were probably a little taxed down.
The only thing they're not a part of is the data itself.
I'm sorry?
The only thing they're not a part of is the data itself, those students that were.
The ones that were absent,
Yeah.
yes, Mr.
Okay.
Montes, you're correct.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. And we go into first grade. Again, so that we don't break any type of FERPA rules or anything, and because we're talking a very small group in first grade English. I didn't put any data there, but in Spanish, you can see that there is continued movement in L4 and even a little bit in L5. And so that's what we want to see. We want to see that, especially in what you see in L4. That's really what we want to see. We want to see those steps up. Okay, so they're doing a really good job in first grade in Spanish. Here's their first grade math scores. And while L3 went down with the gray, L4 went up. They more than doubled. So so they're doing really well there as well. Second grade, again, we have some kids that are doing English, but a very small group. In Spanish, you can see like in L5 again, that's what we want to see, is that steps right there, is because they're increasing and they continue to increase. All right, and then this is math. So math in second grade went down a little bit, and so not sure what's going on there, but they did go down a little bit. But they're still, like you said, still staying clear of level 1 and even level 2, with, but I suspect that you had some kids that were absent. on
Well,
this
we
one
did,
also.
in all grade levels, we did have, the backpedaling was usually on the upper levels is when I looked at it. It was usually 5 to 4, you know what I mean? But they never went below the 3 mark. They stayed above that.
Okay. So that's the data for Garfield Elementary. Is there any questions for Mr. Mesa?
I don't have any.
All righty. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Mesa.
you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, next is Hatch Elementary, and I know we have Ms. Lytle here. And so again, the same type of format. We have English on the left and Spanish on the right. And you can see in the English, we've got some really good growth, not just in L4, but in L5. Just some really, really good jumps. And of course, you want the step down in level 1, and that's what you're seeing. That's like what we want to see in all of our graphs, just that. In Spanish, they're struggling a little bit more. However, you don't see the steps like what we'd like to see. However, there is some increases. So so if you look at Q2 in levels 4 and 5, which are considered proficient, they total 30%. But in Q3, they're at 34. So even though it's not the steps and what you usually see in increases, when you add the two together, they are increasing. And so so there is some movement there. Okay. In math, level 1 is we don't have any level 1s. Level 2s, look at that dramatic step down. That's what we want to see again. And then in level 3, you see the step up, and not so much with the level 4, but they're maintaining right there at 36%. But if you really look at both of them, you look at 53 and 36, you've got a lot of kids that are scoring proficient. And so they're doing a really, really good job at kinder level over there. First grade is continued movement, especially in reading and L4. You can see the big jump to 19%, a little bit of a decrease in L5. And then in Spanish, a little bit of a concern with L4 because you see that step down. We want to see just the opposite of that. However, there is a little bit of a jump in L5. And so I know Ms. Lytle, can speak to that here in a little bit. First grade math, nice growth in L3, a little bit of a pullback on L4, but gosh, 52% and 23, you're talking 75% of the kids that are doing really well. And so so even though the graphs don't always show it, looking at the numbers and adding the numbers together, you can really see that there is growth that's happening there. Okay, second grade, same sort of thing, where they're moving along, kind of a down step on L4, and just a little bit of increase in L5. So, what we don't want to see is we don't want to see kids going backwards. And so I think one of the things that, that we'd have to look at, and maybe Ms. Lytle can talk to, is, the increase in L3. So what we don't want to see is kids moving from L4 to L3. And so we'll continue to monitor that as we move along. Spanish in second grade, they seem to be rebounding with the increase from 13% to 22%. And L5's, yes, it's a decrease, but you're probably talking maybe one kid right there. And so so there's a movement there. I think they're moving along. Okay, and math in second grade. Wow, look at that jump in L3. I don't know what you guys are doing in math, but some of that stuff is just, you're seeing some huge jumps, and that's always really good. And so that's Hatch Elementary. And so do you have any questions for Miss Lytle?
Nothing.
I do.
All right.
Good job.
I think it's looking good.
They're doing well.
They're doing very well.
Kids are doing well, teachers are doing well, principals are pushing teachers. It's good. Rio Grande. So this is where we're going to see a little bit of a change. Okay. And I had to have our principals set me straight, because I didn't realize that iReady only does 3 diagnostic assessments a year. So that's BOY, MOY, and EOY. But I had pushed them to do a third quarter assessment. So each school did something a little bit different, middle school and Rio Grande. And I'll have them speak to that a little bit, but their graphs are going to look a little bit different. So if you look at the bottom, there's only 3 levels. Okay, there's and it's aligned to the tiers. So tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. What you'll see in in the BOY, which is the blue, the MOY, which is the orange, is the actual assessment, the diagnostic assessment results. Okay, you won't see EOY until we test again later. But we threw in what they called at Rio Grande, the standards mastery assessment. Okay, and so that is the yellow. Okay, so in order for us to really look at, do some type of comparison, that's why we threw that at the end. Okay, so that we'll look at that, because you're really comparing apples to oranges. And because what they've done is they've specifically targeted certain standards, and I'll have Mr. Casillas explain that, but they've targeted certain standards to see how the kids are doing in alignment with their MLSS and what they're doing with that. So Mr. Casillas, you want to talk a little bit to
Yes,
that?
thank you, board president, members. I have a handout for you guys. And what this shows is what we did is we selected 3 standards per grade level. You have the results for 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade in that order. And what you're gonna see is we tested our students, and what we wanted to see is not only show growth, but also see besides showing growth, because when we take a test, a student can show growth and it can show that it grew a lot, but if the student is still not mastering grade level work, then they're still behind even though they're growing. So what we wanted to see is, where are our students at grade level? So it's the data is actually pretty good. We're pretty happy with it, except for 4th grade didn't show as big as a result or as many students mastering the skill. But if you look at 3rd grade, 56% of our students are proficient in those 3 standards we selected. And that is important for us, because if we would have done a different type of test, like a growth monitoring test, we would have seen a lot of growth. But if we see a lot of growth, but they're still not at grade level, then even though we see the growth, we're still going to be sending them to the next grade level, whether it's 4th grade, 5th grade, or 6th grade. We're going to see a lot of growth, but they're still not going to be at grade level. So we wanted to see, besides seeing growth, how many of our students are actually testing at grade level, because that is what we want them to do. We want them to win the race, not just kind of catch up toward the end. We want them to be top competitors. So you'll see in 3rd grade for math, 56% of our students are proficient in the 3 standards that we selected. And we didn't select, it would have been easy for us to select standards that we had seen that in the BOY and MOY that they had actually mastered, then we could show green and we could, feel good about ourselves. But we didn't want to do that. What we did is we challenged ourselves. We wanted to see standards that students actually didn't score that grade in. So we selected a standard from the beginning of the year to make sure that they're still retaining that information. Then we selected a standard from the MOY from the middle of the year. And then we selected a standard from that had just been taught in the 3rd quarter. And the scores were pretty impressive. For 3rd grade, you'll see 56% of our students are proficient, 34% kept progressing, and only 10% of those are beginning, which is pretty good. It's actually really good. For reading, we didn't have as much growth, but nonetheless, we did have growth. I forgot one note. Nonetheless, we did have growth. So when I played with these numbers, what we have is that school-wide, if we add 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade, 72% of our students are showing proficiency in the standards that we selected. And of course, they're different standards, but that is very impressive that in math, and that's where we really did really good, which in the past, they had struggled in math. The interventions that we're using at the RGE this year, especially for math, are really providing us with great results. And that was one of the reasons we decided to go with a standards mastery, because they have mastered the standard, and that is important. Not only have they shown growth, but they're at the grade level where they should be. For fourth grade, and that's the one that didn't do as well as I would like. I don't know what happened with fourth graders. They didn't do, none of them were proficient, which was baffling for us. I have nobody to blame that on but us. So it's something that the teachers tonight, today, we were actually at the, during our PLC, that's that discussion that we had, what happened with our students. We're going to reassess our students and figure out why it is that they didn't perform as well as we should have seen. But nonetheless, 42% of them showed progress. And that's what I mean. If we would have just done a progress monitoring test, we would have seen progress. But if they're not mastering the skills, even though they show a lot of growth, if they're not at grade level, then we still have work to do. And we'll always have work to do. And that was for reading. For math, the fourth graders actually did fairly well. 14% of them, only 14% of them showed that they were proficient, but that's because it was a combination between the three standards that we focused on. But if you look at the first standard, comparing whole numbers, they actually 63% of them were proficient in that one standard. It's just the average because they didn't do that great in rounding whole numbers and comparing decimals. That's why it brought it down. But 64% of them nonetheless showed a lot of progress. For fifth grade, this was very consistent for fifth grade. 15% of the students showed proficiency in the standards that we selected, but 56% of them showed progress. So if this would have been a progress monitoring assessment, we would have seen a lot of progress. But once again, I go back to, if they show a lot of progress, but yet they're not at grade level, then it's still a problem. So we wanted to assess and figure out how many of our students are actually at grade level, not just showing progress like we've seen in the BOY and the MOY, but actually how many of them are attaining grade level competence. And for math for fifth grade, that one we also tanked pretty bad. Only 2% of them were proficient. But this is the type of data that we need. So we now know which standards we need to revisit. And then we need to prepare for EOY, which is going to be the one that we're going to be able to compare from BOY, MOY, and then EOY. And at EOY, I believe we're going to see completely different numbers. We're going to see a lot of green. Hopefully the red, we can't get rid of the red completely in 1 year, but we're going to see a lot of the red go away. And I do stand for your questions.
CFAs on any of, have you given any CFAs on any of these standards that you did was assessed?
Yes, we do.
What is that? Is the data comparable or that?
You know, iReady is new to us, so we haven't used iReady. They have done short cycle assessments in the classroom, but they haven't necessarily used iReady like Mr. Chavez says, because we were using it. We thought we would only be using it for BOY, MOY, and EOY. We haven't seen it, so it's like Mr. Chavez said, it's kind of, they're both fruits, but it's a difference comparing oranges to apples or some other fruit. So even though we have done short cycle assessments and we have done a lot of progress monitoring, because it's a different test, it doesn't really, the data doesn't correlate. We can't see exactly what we're missing. But for next year, now that we know that iReady can actually do progress monitoring and can do mastery checks, what I offered Mr. Chavez today is that we can do them every 4.5 weeks. So basically we do the BOY, and then in 4.5 weeks, we can test the standards that we tested at BOY and see where we're at with those standards, and not only do a progress monitoring, but also a mastery check, and then figure out, Mr. Marcus, what it is that we're missing so that we can start building up. And as the students continue to learn the skills that come up throughout the year, the standards, we can still keep kind of refreshing the memory and revamping them in the standards that they showed that they were still weak in.
And even a CFA maybe in 2.5 weeks or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, before you get to this point.
Before, yeah. Yes, sir.
PLC that trying to figure out.
So we had some really good conversations, Mr. Marcus, and like, I'm just going to echo what Mr. Casillas says. You know, this is a brand new tool and we're still learning it. And so knowing that you know, that you have the standards mastery, you'll see the progress monitoring that, that middle school did, which is a little bit different, a little bit different take. However, so it's just like pulling it all together and then coming in. So from that, we also said, hey, we all got curriculum maps. So wouldn't it be cool to be able to look at the curriculum maps, what focus standards are within in that 9 weeks, and then assess for those?
Yeah.
And so that we could move forward and we can do it like at different times. So not just the interim assessments, the diagnostic in this case, but also any type of short cycle CFA or, you know, that sort of thing. So those are some conversations that we're already having for next year.
Yes, definitely. And you know, there are a lot of factors that contribute to how a student performs in the test. One of the mistakes that we made, and I own this one, is we tested our students right before spring break. You know, and it's like if I get out at 5 from work and you give me an assignment at 4:30, I'm gonna rush through it because I want to get out. And so the mistake that I made is we should have done the short cycle, this assessment should have been done at least 2 weeks before spring break, because then students are checking out, right? Thinking of spring break, it's the same thing when we go to the summer, you know, kids they check out 2-3 weeks before the summer, they start getting that spring fever. So that's a mistake that I own. And I believe that's why some of the students didn't show the competence that they actually possess, because we tested them on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and they were leaving on Friday. So they had checked out by the time I tested them. But you know, it's a learning experience, and that's what we're gonna do next year. Mr. Casillas will make better plans before I test the students to remember that, you know, they are gonna check out early. Actually, I just had a conversation with my 5th graders this week on Monday, that 5th graders and 8th graders and the middle school knows this, they start checking out of school, you know, in May, that our 5th graders are not going to do that, that we're going to stick to it till the end. We're not going to leave, you know, mentally RGE until you're in middle school, so that we push our students to learn to the end, you know, not only at the beginning, but we finish the race strong, basically. We don't slack at the end. Any other questions? No?
It's an interesting tool.
I'm sorry. Yes, it is.
It's a powerful tool.
And it's
got a lot
it's
to it.
very powerful, and it's a great tool. We're learning how to use it, and next year we're going to be better with using it, and then do the short cycle assessments to really figure out what it is we need to patch up so that we strengthen our students. The better they perform in a test, the more successful and prepared they feel for the next test, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to help them build themselves up with good teaching and a structure that provides them what they need so that they can learn and move forward. Thank you, guys.
And it's such a good tool that you know, Mr. Mesa had been hounding me, you know, for pretty much the entirety of the year, you know, to pull it down to K2 level. And so they'll be coming on board in the next week or two, Hatch Elementary and Garfield.
Could you use this also for those CFAs? Like after a week and a half, 2 weeks of instruction, could you create an
Absolutely.
assessment?
Yes.
And then when you create this interim, so to speak, does it give different questions than the first one you created, the CFA? Is there
Now you're getting into real
Oh,
detailed stuff, and I don't know the answer to that, maybe Mr. Mesa does.
bank that you can choose from, or is it just calculator, like, can you choose?
Yeah, Mr. Marquez, do you remember the over community?
Yeah.
So Irene has a component like this, but it's just in the growth. The growth mastery, which is what middle school did. So Irene provides them with a form A and a form B.
Okay.
So they're both pre-made forms, but on the form B, they can delete.
Okay,
Some of them,
so
and then
you
they
can,
answer
okay.
standard-based
Awesome.
questions, just like we did it used to.
Okay.
How specific do your reports get when you are able to print them per student? Does it break it down by standard for the
It
student
does.
and by skill?
I don't know about by standard, but it does give us how they performed from I guess if we compare from one test to the other, it does show us the growth in percentage wise from one test to the other. I do want to point something out that's important with this assessment, with the progress monitoring or the mastery check, that the test, as I was walking around watching the students test, when they took the BOY and the MOY, because they're testing in all the standards, there are very superficial and short questions and short answers. This mastery check was very, very deep. They have to answer they have to read 6 very long passages, and then they have to answer very detailed questions. So this went in depth, and this is what this is a practice that I believe was good for our students, because usually they read a passage that took them 2 minutes to read, and then they answered 2 or 3 multiple choice questions. Now they're having to read a text a passage that's going to take them 10, 12, 15 minutes to read. And they have a lot more information that they have to recall as they answer the question. So it actually challenged them. It required for them to be a lot more disciplined, not only to show competence in academics, but show discipline in staying focused and remaining focused and having to recall information. So it's a great tool because it tells us where they're at, and it also forces them to be better test takers. And, that's where we get that beautiful test anxiety that we develop by the time we get to college.
And to be more involved.
And to
I
be
like
more
the name for
involved.
that, yeah.
And remain focused for a longer period of time. So our students were baffled by the time they were done about how much they had to devote to take a test. And it was good for them. Like I told them, it's a good experience, and get used to it, because next year, now that we know how to use this tool, we're going to be implementing this a lot. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, let's move on to middle school. So middle school is a little bit different, like I said, same tool, the iReady, but just a little bit different take on that. And so let's jump over. Oh, I'm going backwards. Okay. You guys know that one of the things that I like to do is I like to monitor Lexile levels, because Lexile levels are a really good predictor of how kids are going to do in any assessment. And so the better the reading skills, the better they are to have that comprehension when they take an assessment. One of the things that I did different this time around was I compared this year's sixth, 7th, and 8th graders to last year's 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And you can see that we're struggling a little bit this year at the middle school as far as this year's group. There's a little bit of a gap there. And so one of the things that we're, that I know Amber and Tish and I were talking about this morning is, the implementation of iReady may be impacting what the scores here, and because we're spending a lot of time with iReady, and so it's just trying to find that balance, trying to find that sweet spot where we give both of them the attention that they need. And so but as we look at this, one of the things that this one here then breaks out this year's 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and then also gives you that school total, and that school total is what you saw in the previous slide. But you'll see the 8th graders, if there's a group that's doing really well over at the middle school, it's that 8th grade, and they're scoring, and on average, their Lexile scores right now are 816 Lexile scores. And so that's pretty good for February, and so we're hoping that they'll continue that trend. It looks like since November they've been on that upward trend. But one of the concerns that we do have is 6th grade and 7th grade, because you'll see that they're not doing as well. And so that's one of the things that we've got to look at and see some of the questions that Amber will have for her teachers, and to see what's going on there. And so one of the things that we monitor from the Achieve 3000 program is the kids that are identified college and career ready. That means that they are at grade level. And so I think I reported in the past that there's up to a 90% correlation between Achieve, saying that the kids are at grade level, and proficiency in the NAMASA. And so we're monitoring that very, very closely. And so that's the Lexile scores. And then we'll get into the iReady scores. And again, we have BOY, MOY, and then we have this Q3 that's a little bit different, okay? Because iReady doesn't do a separate 3rd quarter diagnostic exam. And so it's a little technical, and Tish, when she explained to me this morning how she came about these scores here for Q3, I said, holy cow, that's a lot of work, but it's good work. And so I'm not going to try to butcher it. I'm going to turn it over to her, because she has a much better explanation of how she arrived at those scores. So, Ms. Zamora, do you want to come over and talk to us about that?
Good evening, everyone. How are we?
Good.
Looking at our scores, again, BOY, MOY, Q3, we did go with the growth monitoring assessment, and it is a shorter assessment than the diagnostic, but it's covering multiple areas. Now, kids were given articles to read, to look at, select, but the cool thing about this, it also gave us a scaled score. So that's where this data is coming from. It gives us a projected growth of, are the kids doing well? Are they not doing well? What do we foresee for the EOY? So this is a good indicator for all our teachers to really kind of, and when you were talking about those assessments, CFAs, that's kind of similar to this. If you kind of think about it, it allows the teacher just to work on specific things. It does, if you go into iReady, it does show a little bit more about a plus and minus, what they're weaker on and what they're doing better. But we had to go through each student and get their scale score. It doesn't give us an overall like data projecting of the whole class. So these are specific skills for each student. So
it's still not a diagnostic to diagnostic assessment, but it does give you a really good idea of where the kids are. And you know, like Tish said, she had to go through every single student to look at their scale score. So that's what 200 and how many kids do you have? About 260 kids times 2, because you had to do it for reading and for math.
Oh gosh, it was okay. It was relaxing. I got to, I got my groove in there. So I'm just happy that we could kind of support our teachers, let them see like where our kids are standing and what do we need to work on, and look at the ones who are lacking in certain areas. So I think for next year, just like Mr. Octavio mentioned, I hope to use both hand in hand and really, work with all of our teachers and students and get our scores higher and higher and higher. So that's it.
So this is 6th grade. And again, it's, you're kind of comparing apples to oranges, but it kind of gives you an idea of how the kids are performing. And so in the 3 levels, you can see in Q3, we're down to 34% in reading as far as level 1 or the bottom levels, and 23 up on top. And so that almost kind of mirrors on, for proficiency in math at 23% and 22% in the red. So you can see we still have the bulk of the kids in the middle, and we're still working on moving those kids upward. Okay. 7th grade. You know what caught my eye in 7th grade with reading is that, look at the Q3, it's almost like even, a third, and and not so much at Q3 with the math, but not bad. Okay. And then here's 8th grade. So again, you see almost a third in each one reading 8th grade. And then Q3 is a little bit more leaning towards tier 1 and tier 2. I'm sorry, tier 3 and tier 2. All right, that's middle school. Do you have any questions?
The assessment for middle school was pre-built, correct?
It was pre-built.
Do you kind of have an idea how many standards were assessed on it?
No, that I don't. It was way shorter. Because I did ask kids, it varied from maybe 12 questions to 18 questions. Kids were mentioning like, wow, we went through it pretty quick. We knew our stuff. But like I said, it was just like a snapshot of a BOY or MOY. So they were given random standards. We don't know specifically. So that's the only, I guess, hard thing to look at compared to Mr. Octavio's, where you could select your standards. And that's a good way of doing it as well, especially targeting those standards that kids didn't really do successful in MOY or BOY. So like I said, it goes hand in hand. This is a great indicator again of the likelihood of students meeting their goals for EOY. So again, they can look at how far away they are to mastering that or how close.
Those the eighth grade Lexile scores, is some of that attributed to maturity?
I think so, and taking assignments serious. When we're dealing with Achieve 3000, I feel like at a certain point, kids kind of realize, oh, this matters. I really need to really work on it. And then knowing what a Lexile level means towards them. And again, goals. I want to move up. I know my eighth grade teachers, and of course, all the teachers, they really want to really push the career readiness, achievement. You know, it's gonna increase as you move on to high school. And I just think them taking the time, really reading the questions, not going through and trying to get out of it. Of course, you have to receive a 75% or higher to pull your achieve levels up, but it does get harder. My daughter, she's a junior, she's career ready already. So she tells me all the time, Mom, this is like so difficult. It's getting harder and harder. So I could see maybe just sixth graders immaturity. Oh, I don't want to do it. So the hustle and bustle with that. But I have a plan to really talk to my language arts teachers and kind of see what's missing and how we could be supportive.
Yeah.
Maybe like AR prizes at
Maybe,
the elementary, maybe we need to achieve prizes.
Prizes.
Yeah.
They love those hot Cheeto and cheese days. So just like Mr. Garcia says, at the middle school, it's all hot Cheetos and cheese. Too bad we can't get a hold of those fizzy drinks.
It's called Heartburn City.
I know. But we do really great with paleta cells. We have all the fixings and they love those too. So maybe we could start selling those.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Nice.
Any more questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and last but not least, we have high school. And high school, here's the same kind of graph with the Lexile levels, comparing last year to this year's group. And this one's just a little bit different because you see that we started off really low as far as the gap between the two groups up until December, so the first semester. But then from December to January, they overtook the last year's kids. And so you can see that they're at 970. So there's what I really love about this graph is the upward trajectory from August all the way to February. So we know the kids are growing. They're growing in their Lexile level. They're building their reading skills, the comprehension skills, and moving forward. So we're hoping that that we'll continue to see that movement. But then what does that mean? You know, how are the different grade levels doing? Well, ninth grade, you know, they're at the bottom but look at there's not much difference between 10th, 11th and 12th grade. And of course your 11th grade is outperforming everybody by about 66 Lexile level points. And so yes. Yes, you can see 10th grade. I don't know what's going on in 10th grade, but holy cow, there was a big jump from December to February. Yes. Oh, you have a new teacher. Oh, okay.
Yeah, good evening. Yes, our 10th grade, we saw a huge jump in our Achieve data and in our assessment data as well. We did lose a teacher when we came back from winter break. So we do have a certified teacher in there right now. She's not certified in ELA, but she's helping us out in there. And so she's done a really great job of implementing a lot of the resources that we have. So Mrs. Cahill is amazing and has taken her under her wing and has really helped her out in that sense.
Good.
So high school continues to move. So, you know, one of the other things that I look at is, okay, how does Lexile level then compare to, you know, what's going on? In this case, it's Horizons. And so we're just going to show just the overall. And then we'll jump into 11th grade because that's where, you know, unfortunately, the only accountability that comes at high school is at 11th grade. And but look at what's going on here. Here's reading and writing and level 3, but look at level 4 and the jumps that they've had. That's really good. And so that really correlates with what we're seeing with those Lexile scores. Okay, and then we go into math. Math, you know, we continue to struggle at, you know, level 4, but you know, look at level 3. We're increasing. We're decreasing in level 1 slowly, but decreasing nonetheless, and then increasing in level 3. And so that's always good. Okay, and then 11th grade. So 11th grade, we wanted to do that one separately because again, that's where a lot of the accountability for high school comes. But look at that reading and writing in 11th grade. They're at 42% in L3. And that's, gosh, that's a big jump, you know, that they continue to see that downward movement in L1, but increases in L3. Math, not so much, you know, but I know that they're working and they're working hard. And I know that you have Omar that's really working with the kids, really working, tutoring the kids, working with the math teachers. And so I'm really thinking that we're just not there yet, but it's coming. So Brandy, you want to speak to any of that?
We do take our SAT assessment next Wednesday, so hopefully this correlates to what we're seeing using the Horizon. Horizon's new to us this year. It's a new platform, so we're just hoping that it really helps our kid to prepare our kids so that the test isn't so foreign to them, because it is timed and it's a short period of time that they get, especially for the math. On average, the kids only have 1.5 minutes to answer each question. So yeah, that's a big jump. And so that's kind of why we chose the Horizon platform, is just because it mimics the SAT. And like Mr. Chavez said, we're held to our 11th grade taking that test. And our 11th grade, I think, is one of our highest performing grades this year. So, I mean, as you saw from the Achieve data, their Lexile score is the highest.
They're
So
already at 1070. That's really good. And this is average, right? It means we got kids that are higher and we got kids that are lower, but you know, they're doing really well.
yeah. Any questions? Keep up the
How
good
are
work.
your senior kids? Are they on track for graduation? Do we have any of that info yet?
We've been working on it. We have had a few meetings with some seniors that we've had to get pretty serious with and let them know.
Including the parents?
Including the parents, yes. We've had several of those heart-to-heart meetings.
So there's no surprises.
So there's no surprises, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty. That concludes, I believe that's everything. Yep, I think we
Okay.
covered everything. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, principals, for presenting today. Item number 3, limited public comment. Elsa, is there anyone? Item number 4, new business. Before we go on to item number 4, new business, on letter F, consider approval of the 2024 audit. We do not have that ready at this time. So what I think I'm gonna have to have is a motion to table item F.
So moved.
Has been moved and seconded. Moved by Secretary Montes and seconded by Member Marcus to table the consideration of the approval of the 2024 audit. So it is not ready. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote for this. Member Garay,
Yes.
Member Marcus.
Aye.
Secretary Montes.
Aye.
And myself is an aye. We will go ahead and table item F. Okay, moving on. Item A, consideration of approval of NMSU educators rising donation of $5,500. And that is the one we had been told about.
Yes, so
Okay.
that is the
Forms here. I have forms here that were not attached. Also just printed out to me right here. I sent it to Shelley before, but I think she did not attach them. And it shows right here how our money will be used. I guess it was not attached on the binder. So I'm just here to answer any questions. It is highlighted how, I know right now I'm only taking some students to state. All my students who are enrolled in my teacher academy and my teaching and practicum are part of Educators Rising at state level. However, not everyone is required to participate at state level. So I do allow them to do, to participate in any community events or anything that has to do with the school. And I still provide them with their shirt and they are able to participate just to build up any community service they need to do. So as you can see right here, most of the money does go to the competitions, depending what the students are going to be competing on. And then state conference registrations, t-shirts that we get for the students. We do have different t-shirts that we wear. And then I do provide Stoll's graduation if they meet the bylaws. We do have a rules that are, in order to get a Stoll, they do have to stay 2 years at Educators Rising. They do have to participate at state for Educators Rising for 2 years, and they do have to participate 90% of the time because Stolls are really expensive. Now, the courts, they do meet different requirements, at least participate one state conference, and they do have to be part of Educators Rising for 2 years and do have to participate in any community events for 90% of their time. And then registration for nationals as well.
Are there any questions?
Are you gonna be utilizing the school district website to help with your fundraising and stuff?
Anything I use for fundraisers, as you can see, I don't know if you guys follow us on Facebook or on Instagram, it will be in our Hatch Valley Educators Rising bilingual chapter. That's where I share everything that we, if the students are doing any fundraisers, we upload it there, and as well as the Instagram. Just because everyone have access to it in the community and parents do, so they always share it, they tag us, and I always share it there.
You need to put on their cheeseman and it'll fly. And then put your stuff in there.
Yeah, so everything is there, their pictures, what they work on. And especially in our highlight videos, if we do give permissions to the kids, whoever are in our videos, because Educators Rising requires us to get all those permission slips. So before putting them on that website, we do have their permission slips, such like in the video that we just show you. We had to get all the kids' signatures and their parents' signatures to be in the video. Mhm.
Recommendation is for approval.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been moved by Member Garay, seconded by Secretary Montes to consider the approval of the NMSU Educator Riser donation of 5,500. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved. Item B, consider approval of out-of-state travel for students for Ed Rising National Conference in Orlando, Florida.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Congratulations to our Ed Rising students. You guys are going to Orlando. And I just want to say you guys do an awesome job. You guys really, really do an awesome job. It's so good to see so many kids up here that are going to be future teachers.
Actually, I actually had the opportunity to view the video that they did do on the freight farm. And it was just, it was such a good video that shows two different CTSOs working together. And so our FFA program and our Ed Rising program, it's an incredible video. I'd hope that they would show it today, but they had other plans. Maybe we can show it at a different time. All righty.
So I see item C here is a first reading, so we don't need to approve it, right?
Right, there's no approval. It's just the first reading.
It's just the first reading of the adoption of the NMSBA Policy Advisory 246 through 260. Are there any questions or is there any discussion about the advisories? I don't have any. Okay. Moving on, item D, first reading of the school calendar for school year 2025-2026.
So same thing, it's just the first reading, so there's no action taken on this. But we did present two different calendars. We've done some surveys, we solicited information, surveys, and this is what we came up with. And we've Bernie Sanchez and Sheila have been leading the charge on this. And they're learning really quick, you know, the difficulties of developing the calendar. And because you're always going to have people that say, you know, why can't we do this? Or why can't we do that? Or why can't we? But here's the parameters. I just want everybody to understand the parameters is, you know, we've always have gotten the feedback that we don't want to come back after Memorial Day. Okay, so that's like kind of the first parameter. And then we work backwards from that. I remember my first year here in 2019. We actually went after Memorial Day, and I remember people were not happy with that. You know, kids had already checked out, staff was not happy, and that sort of thing. And so we end before Memorial Day, and then we work backwards. And it's finding the days, you know, the number of days. So we currently work 188 days. We work 183 days as a base contract. That's what our teachers work, 183 days. Plus the additional 5 days. So that takes us up to 188 days. So it's finding 188 days working backwards while considering, you know, spring break, Christmas break, Thanksgiving break, and any of the days off in between, which then determines like where do we land? And we've always have tried to go as close as we can to August 1st. We just can't squeeze it in, you know, to do it before August 1st. Now, the difference between the two calendars is really the start time and Christmas break. Okay, and I know Sheila did some surveys, and she can share some of the results on that. You know, when we went into Christmas break last year, when you all approved the calendar, it wasn't that big of a difference between those that wanted the extra time at Christmas versus the ones that didn't. But since we've been through the cycle, now we have the majority of people that are asking to continue that. And so Sheila has some figures for you on that.
Good evening, board. Right now, we had a student survey, 84 responding students, 75% were like 3 weeks at Christmas. The parent survey, 205 responses, and 75% would like 3 weeks at Christmas. Your staff survey, however, is only 67% that would like the 3 weeks at Christmas, but it was still the majority. We did ask staff before submitting any of the drafts whether they would like the 3 weeks, and so only 98%, or 98, which is about 50% of our staff responded, and 86% said they wanted 3 weeks. So I was surprised when we sent that out that it was less than the 85%. Yes. And then we also asked if they would like to continue working the 5-day OST days, and over 60% said they wanted to continue that.
Does it not help having that extra week in for Christmas because of the people that leave to Mexico? Does it help?
So I know that's one of the things, and I think I heard more from Brandy and from Octavio and their schools. But I know one of the things that they used it as is like, you know, trying to reason with parents that, hey, we gave you extra time. We need you to stay here till the end.
Yes.
You know, and what I heard was positive that you were able to keep kids to the end in December. So I don't
And
know
then
if
they're
either one
back.
wants to speak to that.
Yes, please. Sorry. So it actually helps us out a lot, because what it shows that is that the district is working with them, that we are conscious of the fact that they still have family in Mexico that they have to go see. So it shows a collaboration between the district and the parents. It shows a really heart-to-heart conversation when they come and they ask me, you know, I need to leave early, I need to come late. You know, when you do that, you're not showing that you appreciate what the district is trying to do with you. And not only that, it allows me to tap into the longer the break for the students, the more they regress when they come back. So the 3 weeks that you're getting is actually beyond what we would like to give. But because we're conscious of the fact that you still have connections in Mexico, we know we're working with you. But what it does is it allows us to I don't know how to say this, but because I don't want to say that it makes them feel guilty, but it does hold them accountable. And of course, there's a lot of education going on that you educate with the parents about why it's not beneficial for the student to be gone for so long. But it also shows the fact that the district is conscious of their needs to be in Mexico. So it really, what it did is it actually brought us together. I don't know if
Yes, I just want to echo everything Octavio said. And it also shows that we're listening and that we're sensitive to their needs. It also, I think in terms of kids returning, the majority of them, with the exception of maybe a handful of students, did return on time.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
that was very helpful, and families did appreciate it, and kids really appreciated it. Thank you.
One of the things I'd like to see moving forward is just thinking outside the box, thinking about those 4-day work weeks, 4-day calendar for kids. I know that the rule of 180 88 days, whatever we were, is gone now, and it's hours, 1140. I'd like us to give the community more options with regards to this.
One of the things that, when I first arrived, I asked Miss Hale, have you ever considered a 4-day week? And, one of the things she said is, because we have such a high ELL population, 4-day week, I don't know, is that really a good thing? And I have to echo, those things, that sentiment that she shared way back then. Because I do have to wonder, there are districts that have a 4-day week. A lot of them, the majority of them are rural districts, small districts, that are performing quite well. They have a good proficiency rates and that sort of thing. I'm going to say that that's where we differ, is our proficiency rates are not at that same level. I don't want to say yes or no or anything like that. You guys approve the calendar, and we can certainly look into that. I did talk to someone today to get some feel on what does that mean with the lawsuit and the judge ruling in our favor with the doing away with 180 days. The governor is appealing it, but until that gets resolved, we're good to go with just the 1140, like you said, Mr. Gonzalez. And so there is a bill right now that is sponsored by I believe it's Representative Gail Armstrong. I apologize if it's Senator, but I know that I believe what I was told is that it's passed the House and the Senate, and it protects 4-day weeks and it gives that option. But what I'm hearing is that there's a good chance that if it gets to the governor's desk, that it'll be vetoed. And so there's a lot of, things that are still uncertain. We're still not sure about. We can certainly look into that. And maybe look at an option with that. The other thing that we can do is keep the 5-day week, but really load up like the extending the day a little bit, the instructional day, which then it doesn't reduce the number of days that we have. It reduces the number of days for kids, but not necessarily for staff. And so, that's another option, is looking at it from that perspective. And, one of the things that I've always have advocated for is, we've got a lot. If you look at our teaching staff, we've got about a third of our staff that are level 1 teachers. They need time. They need professional
PD on
development.
Fridays.
They need that time. And so, there is some things that we're looking into. There's some uncertainties. I know that I talked to Assistant Secretary and at PED, and he said that we should be receiving a word and guidance from PED regarding calendars. And what he told me was it's the same provision that they put in place last year, with the exception of the 180-day rule. So if you remember, there was also a provision in there somewhere that said, no new 4-day districts. And so that's what's unclear. I don't know, if that's still going to be in there or not. The judge did rule that the only requirement that we have is the 1140 instructional hours. So
We actually did receive that guidance at 5:43 tonight.
Oh.
And I've been skimming through it, one of the things that may affect us is the K-12 funding. So since it's 1140 hours, we are able to pull back the number of student days and increase PD days, which is what this calendar is based on. However, to receive additional funding, we're required to have over 180 days for K-12 plus. So we're going to have to look into this. This is a first guidance document, with the caveat that, again, the bill is not signed. There could be vetoed items. So this is coming from the director of school budget and finance.
The other thing that it'll impact, and this is something that I hadn't thought about, it's just brought to my attention, was 4-day week means that people are working less. Okay. Doesn't impact teachers because, you know, they're still on that salary schedule. Who it impacts is our hourly employees because now they're working less. So we're actually starting to look at quality of life of our hourly employees. And so, yeah.
Look at it.
Yeah. And so that's something that we have to consider also.
Another thing you need to look at too is our migrant population and daycare. What do you do with these kids that now mom's still having to work, dad's still having to work? Now, where do the kids go on that day?
Yeah. There's just so many different parameters, so many different things to consider. Calendar is hard. It's extremely difficult. You know, you're trying to do the best that you can to accommodate the majority, you know, that's kind of where you have to land is the majority, but we can certainly look at that, Mr. Gonzalez. We can look at a 4-day and, you know, present that as maybe an option. Okay. But there's a lot of things that we have to consider, and I am not pointing fingers or criticizing anybody or anything, but you know, some of the feedback that we receive, a lot of the times it's for their own personal, you know, what they feel or what they like, and you know, at this level, we have to think about everybody. We have to think about all of our employees and all of our kids, you know, and so sometimes, you know, it's hard to, when you say, well, I want this, you know, well, that may not be the best option for everybody. And so that's what makes it really hard. But just that explanation, and I know every year we try to put that out there that, you know, we always work backwards. We work from Memorial Day and we work backwards looking for 88 days, you know. One of the things that I did hear a lot of feedback this year with this year's calendar was how early kids start. And so I've been trying to find a way to push that back a little bit. And we could push it back a week, but that means that we have to not do the extended learning time, the 5 days. And so now you're starting to impact everybody's paycheck, right? Because it's an extra 5 days. And so, you know, there's just a lot to consider with all of that. And I don't know that there's just not enough days in the calendar. Need to add another month or something.
Yeah, if we are not funded for those 5 days, then we also have to decide whether the district wants to pay that out of the operational budget, because that would impact our SCG. It would not be additional. So again, they have not created the spreadsheet for us to enter our calendar, which is where we enter those hours and to make sure we're in compliance. This is just preliminary data, but instructional days over 180. So that's concerning to me.
Well, and that's how they're going to try to hold us, how they're going to try to control things is they're looking at below the line money. Okay, below the line funding, which is exactly what Sheila's talking about. So all the extended learning time, it's below the line funding. Okay, so you don't have to participate in it, you know, and so, you know, that's just something, but that was one of the survey questions that we put out there is, okay.
2/3 of the staff wanted it, yes. Another week that we take off is the full week of Thanksgiving. Over 95% of the teachers want the full week. So, I mean, those are the things we considered as we work back from Memorial Day. So we can't have it all, but we tried.
Yeah.
So.
And there's some things that just are not, I mean, they're not, I understand where some people have some concerns. For example, you know, in statute, we had to put in that November 4th. Take that off, you know, and so that's why it's red. We don't come to school that day because that was in statute for everybody being off an election day. And so that's like one day. So it doesn't make sense. Okay, hey, we come on Monday, but then we're off on Tuesday and then we come back on Wednesday. You know, it's little things like that that just, I understand that they're a big inconvenience. But that means that we've got to find, if we say, okay, well, let's take Monday off. Well, now we have to find another instructional
You gotta
day.
find another day.
Yeah, somewhere. So anyways, that's just the first reading. We'll have more information for you next month. Our budget is not due till the end of May.
Moved
And
it back?
so
It used to be April, wasn't it?
it used to be, yeah. So this year we're at the end of May.
So the 14th.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So we'll have the budget then. So as you guys know, the calendar is part of the budget. So we'll need to have that decision made before before you all approve the budget. Okay. All right.
Moving on to item E, consider approval of bilingual application.
Yes, so we have, it's that time of year where we're looking at bilingual applications. They are 95% complete. The only thing that I need to put in there is the course codes. This year, they're doing something a little bit different. They want to see the course codes that we use for our bilingual programs. And so we should have those done by tomorrow. The application is not due till April 2nd. But what I do need from the board is your approval on the assurances. And I believe that's a separate document that Elsa had for us somewhere here. So it looks like this. Okay, so all I need is your signature, Ray, on that, but it's for the approval of the bilingual application, so it is an action item.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider approval of the bilingual application. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Number 5, items for future meetings. Does anybody have items for future meetings that they'd like to put on the agenda at this time? Okay, seeing none. The next regular board meeting will be Wednesday, April the 9th, 2025 at 6 p.m. here in this facility. We have an announcement? Yes.
We have I just wanted to invite you to our farm worker appreciation dinner next week. It's on the 27th, 5:30 to 7. And we would love for you to come out and hear some of our kids speak, and there will be lots of resources come out, like about 17 booths for our community, and we'd like to feed you, and it's a great evening, just thanking the farmers. Next Thursday, the 27th. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Thank you. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
Don't move.
The moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Right, also send the agenda. All regional meetings, we do like that.
No, like they did sign where it is. Like steak and enchiladas or steak and chili relleno. I was thinking about that whole 4-day a week. Fridays. I know like Foley, they're doing Friday, they're doing PB Fridays. And we don't have time for PB, and that's the perfect time to do PB.
I would love that. Love to see something like that. And it's like I said, it's just so many different parameters that you consider.